Testing, testing.
It works, sir.
Jordan,
Yes, sir.
can you hear the
Yes.
conference?
Yes, sir.
I've got the conference phone up, so rather than the owl, the computer wanted to do a bunch of updates and it was not even booting up right, so I just started
Okay.
that.
All right.
And you can hear the conference phone?
Yes.
Okay, cool deal.
And we're recording the YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you for setting that up. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
I'm doing this just so you all can look at it. They got great.
Hey, are you all here? Is everybody here? They don't know. I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Here's.
Here.
Commissioner Flowers,
Present.
Congressman Smith,
Present.
and Clerk of the Board, Councilmember Present.
Audience introductions. This will start up. This is, we didn't put you in yet. Would you start us off, Jennifer?
Sure, Jennifer Cree, Commissioners Admin. Haley Day Wentworth.
William O'Brien, Wetmore. Steve Hebert, Wetmore.
Bruce Barr, Wetmore.
Alden Ray, Wetmore.
Valerie Westland.
Thank you. If anyone goes to speak, if they would identify themselves, the record when they do that, that would be great. Okay, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes. The Tourism, Board has asked for consideration of a support letter that's due by the 20th. And, we'll talk about if we can just add that to item, C. That would be great.
I would move we amend the agenda by adding consideration of a tourism support letter.
I would second. Any discussion on that? Say that would would be letter G. It's being added as we speak. Okay. Any other amendments to the agenda?
I've none.
Bill?
Tory.
All right. Have no minutes today. Commissioner items. Bill?
Just a quick, point to make. The DA's budget, meeting that was supposed to happen weeks ago hasn't happened yet because, the DA hasn't asked for a meeting yet or agreed to one. So Fremont County, Casey County, Fremont, us, they sent a note out and, everybody's in agreement that we should just leave it like it was last year, 0% change until she either understands she missed it or gonna have to live with it. So they're waiting for her to respond, we are as a district. And the airport board, has got, they went through the budget process, with, Braden this last week, and things have come along swimmingly. They're still waiting for the, tank to be certified by the electrician. But more important, the SIP, the capital investment plan that the state has, where we get the grants, when they know what we're doing is we're project, evolves, whether it's ramp expansion or whatever, is due to be put in, to the system this end of this month, so that we'll be, able to push on the other things like airport lights are next, runway lights. And then the Upper Ark, Water Conservancy District, has been working with, Round Mountain, and Round Mountain did receive a $500,000 grant for the, reservoir to help, part of the water project for the towns. And in addition, there's a traction being made on their septic, study that they've done, that invention that they have had that's gonna help save a lot of money, so stay tuned for that down the road. And that's it for now.
Was that an email about the DA?
Yeah, it was sent, and same thing that happened to me happened to you guys. It was when we were transitioning through our address thing, so I asked, Greg to resend it, and,
Who is it from?
it's Greg Felt, just sent it to everybody.
Yeah,
I don't know if he included everybody, to tell you the truth, it might have just been me, because I've been the, contact before. I will forward that to you, if.
That would be great, I did not see that.
Yeah, I know, nobody, I didn't either. So I'll send that forward that I've got, as soon as I figure out how to get into this new email.
All right. Anything else, sir?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to go through my calendar since our last, commissioner meeting, October the 11th, I was in the office on my Tuesday day. On the 12th, I attended a workforce housing tour of IndieDwell, a company in Pueblo, manufacturing housing. Very interesting. We hope to get a tour put in on the schedule to go up to Fading West in Buena Vista and look at their project as well. I obviously get more on that tour, and I certainly was impressed and thought it was very interesting. Not totally sure it's going to be a end-all answer to workforce housing for us, but certainly something to consider. So, and then on the 13th, I attended the Upper Arkansas Cooperative Weed Management Area Regional Meeting down in Florence at the Pathfinder Park Building. Just kind of went through some stuff. The biggest thing on the item was getting ready for the annual meeting in February, which will be held at the Abbey again, as it has been the last 3 or 4 years. So, then also on the 13th, I attended Byron Wright's retirement celebration down at Road and Bridge, presented a plaque to him on behalf of the county commissioners, thanking him for his 40-plus years of work, as a mechanic at Road and Bridge. I think just a seriously large anomaly. I don't know this for a fact, but I believe that's really the only full-time job he ever had when he got out of high school. I think he went to work for Road and Bridge.
He worked for our sawmill for 5 years.
Oh, yeah, so.
That's where he cut his teeth on being a mechanic.
So for 40 years, this doesn't happen anymore these days, you know, it's turning the way it is. So, wish Tim luck and had a little meal for him there, and that was nice.
I got there when the scraps were on the table.
On the 17th, I attended the Central Front Range Transportation Planning Region meeting that we hosted here at Rancher's Roost. I can tell you that one of the early items on the agenda was discussion of Highway 96. Clearly, that project is not going to be overlaid this year. I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody.
No.
And EDOT said that their liquidated damages, that they're gonna hold that contracting company to starting November 1st until the project is actually done, not when they start it, but when they finish it next year. $7,500 a day.
Okay.
So
So it was their fault that it got delayed? Is that what happened?
yeah, they just overbooked themselves, you know, and they got hung up over there in the Western Slope, and now they're hung up on Levita Pass,
Jeez.
and they just said no.
Who's the contractor?
APC,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
so-
it is.
I was wondering why they were putting
So
the
they're
paint
just-
down before they overlaid it. It's kind of an odd way to do it.
Hammered, you know, so that's brutal, but I said, well, what just keeps them from walking away? He said, oh, we have a surety bond that's gonna cover all that, so.
See, it's okay. It's insurance is ruined it. I mean,
So you figure
see.
8 months, 6 months, 7 months, 7,500 a day, I'll just keep politicking, I don't want any part of that. So, anyway, we had a good meeting down there. We're still in the process of waiting on our, grant award on the, sidewalk project on the west side of the county building up in Westcliff. $250,000 for a design and engineering grant for that. And then, had a weed board meeting yesterday in the commissioner room, and also a Custer County Recycles board meeting, in the commissioner's room as well. They had talked, Vernon left, didn't he? I had a question for him, that's all right, I'll bring it up later. And so we're moving forward with that. We do have a finished MOU with Dundee Dog Park. The board looked at it yesterday and approved submitting that to the commissioners. If you want, I can put that on the agenda at the end of the month, or we could do it during commissioner items. You've had it already, and we had it on the agenda, and then we decided that the recycling board probably ought to look at it before we adopt it. So they did approve that yesterday. Chair's pleasure, however you want to handle that. There was no changes in it, since we as commissioners looked at it last.
Okay.
So,
I would be in agreement to go ahead.
if you'll entertain the motion, I would make that, that's up to you.
Go ahead.
So to that end, then I would move that we approve the memorandum of understanding with Custer County Recycles and the Dundee Memorial Dog Park Board of Directors. Katie Johnson would be the signature for them, and you would be the signature for us.
second that. Okay. Any further, any discussion on that?
And you put that in our packet, right?
I did,
I'm
it's
looking.
been dropped in,
Yeah,
and
okay, I thought you did.
I have a copy for you to sign.
Oh, yeah, here it is, right here. So, the big thing was that, Custer County Recycles agreed to pay, the Dundee Dog Park $1,500 a year for the use of their property as one of our drop-off sites. And, they were fine with paying that in arrears. December, Clint, I know you had a question about that, so that's really the only other thing.
Covering the time that's already been.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Okay. Question for me, sir?
I do, can we finish this motion real quick, and then I'll ask you?
Okay, those in favor then of approving the MOA,
MOU.
MOU, all right, it almost.
Shame on you for MOA.
Yeah, shame on me for acronyming.
Yeah.
But Dundee Dog Park and Custer County Recycle signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. And it's in here as Dundee Dog Park, it's actually Dundee Memorial Dog Park. Do you know why the memorial stuck in there?
Enlighten me.
The Mernances, Dave and, can't think of her name, Mernance used to own that. And they lost a dog to a rattlesnake bite. And so they created that park, and then they had 3 or 4 years of snake aversion training that they paid for and opened to the community. And so then they ended up naming that. I think their dog's name was Dundee, right? And so,
I wonder where that came from.
yeah. And if I may, sir, just a quick question, and it's actually part of my report from the Custer County Recycle Board yesterday. They voted to approve, the purchase of a computer for the project manager, or the program manager for recycles. So I told him I would mention that to you, if we could get that moving forward.
Did we have a price point?
They said up to $1,500, right?
I
Not
believe
to
so, I'll
exceed
check my notes,
1,500.
I'll email you when I get back with the exact amount.
I told him I thought 12-ish would be in the ballpark, but I also said I'd mention that to you today.
Appreciate it.
Yep,
I'm just outside.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, I think that's all I have.
All righty. We have a letter here from, Whitmore Volunteer Fire Department. Thank you letter, for furnishing the funds for the concrete for their helipad. It is in place. Been poured. Road and Bridge went over and did some dress-up work around it, and so it is online. We do have a thank you letter. Thank you so very much for the monies for the pad at the local firehouse to land the Flight for Life. With the help of many local volunteers, the project is complete and will serve the community for years to come. This area uses Flight for Life many times a year, and with the age of the people living here and the serious wrecks on Highway 96, we have many people transported from up the canyon when the weather does not allow Flight for Life to land up higher on the mountain. Thank you again for helping this small community. And it's signed by Ruth Roper, Whitmore Volunteer Fire Department.
Nice.
So,
Good. That was out of community outreach, right?
Yes.
yes. As you mentioned earlier, Kayla and I went on that Indy Dwell tour. That's quite the factory down there. They have 2 lines, and they started off with shipping containers. When the price quadrupled on them to them, then they went to just building their own modules. It's quite an operation. And BR's retirement, I would like to invite, everybody from down here knows, but I will invite those that don't know, on the 28th, we are having the Whitmore Community Church is putting on their Harvest Fest. And, part of that is a, chili competition, so red or green chilies.
And what day is that?
That's, Friday the 28th. And, if you're entering a chili, it needs to be here between 5 and 5:30. And then the judges will judge between 5:30 and 6, and everybody gets to pick out on the chili, so.
Who won last year?
It wasn't me, 'cause I was a judge, so I couldn't put it in.
Not able to be there.
So,
Yeah, you-
I'm not entering until I know who the judges are, 'cause the ice cream thing kinda,
I can tell you if you. Our son's one of them.
So we just need to start sending, paying him, bribing him now.
Give 'em a candy bar.
Maybe I better not say who the judges are.
yeah, that's right. That should be kept top secret.
and then, contract with the courts for the grant for the sheriff's department, has been signed and sent back to them. I think we had an email, you'd responded to it at one point.
Is that
Came in about a week and a half ago.
just grants, or? Can't remember what it was, but you signed it.
Yes, I signed it.
I have a question, if I may, sir.
Yes.
Pertaining to Byron Rice's retirement, I think it would be appropriate for us to put out a press release and congratulate him on his retirement. I would guess either one said chairman of the BOCC or the road and bridge manager could give you all the specifics, huh? I certainly couldn't, but,
Okay, we'll do, it's on my to-do list.
I mean, that's just a suggestion. What do you guys think?
Good idea.
I would think that would be very good. Okay.
Are you entering Chile?
You know, I'm trying to decide. I make a,
some more family members in Jason.
well, yeah. You know, that's not necessarily.
Got 3 votes already. Got 3 before he enters.
A lot of times that's a detriment. So, but I may,
Okay.
which type I'm not sure, 'cause I make both. And that's all I have. So I guess that would bring us up to attorney items.
The highlight of the day.
It always is. I got 2 things to report on. I got a call last week from Art Nordyke, the county coroner. He had a death of an elderly gentleman in the Reseda area. Couldn't find any next of kin whatsoever, and, he just wasn't sure how to proceed. I sent him, he went and talked to Becky at the courthouse up there. Larger counties have attorneys that are appointed as public administrators. We don't have it here, but I think Becky set him straight and gave him the paperwork. Somebody needs to open an estate, on behalf of this gentleman, because he owned a home, and he got a lot of personal property. And the most important part for me is he has 2 beautiful dogs that he takes care of now. But I think Art has got that under control now, and whatever expense his office has, he'll be allowed to make a claim against the estate and be paid out of the, proceeds from the sale of the personal property. Unless they've been able to locate a next of kin, because last time there wasn't any. Clint, I met with those folks, Thursday, maybe? Yeah, it was Thursday, last Thursday. And they now have an attorney that's gonna move that paperwork forward for them. Okay. There is no next of kin. He had a will at one time, but it was out of Florida. And, the father was the benefactor of that will, who has since passed away, so, yeah. And there has been a will ever made, yeah. No will and no next of kin, and then you have to go through court and get probated. Yeah, that's what they're filing is a probate paper, and those folks said they certainly would anticipate to pay for those funeral expenses out of the estate when it was.
That would have to be paid out of the estate. The autopsy that was required is out of the coroner's budget, everything else. And there has to be a notice to creditors, you know, I told Art, he hadn't done it yet, but find the mail, get the mail, see if there are any bills or anything else coming in, credit card statements, whatever all the creditors have to be notified. That's just part of the legal process.
Right.
That's what we hear.
And I
Then
guess,
last week, I got a call from Vince Cook, the, road and bridge supervisor. He was having a problem on County Road 310. That road at its upper end goes across private property, and then the individual who owns the private property was in the process of putting up electric gates, I think 5 of them. And this, you can't do that, that's a county maintained road up there. Get HUTF funds from the state of Colorado for maintaining that road. The electric gates aren't gonna work in the wintertime when the snow's piled up, you can't open those electric gates. I thought it was going to, I might have to be involved, but after I talked to Vince, and he was gonna get back to me the next day, and I haven't heard from him, so maybe he got that worked out, with the individual, but if not, I told him, take pictures of these gates so I can see exactly what it looks like and everything. There are gates there now, but they're just, you know, with chains that you open and close them with, and that's fine, but electric gates just aren't gonna work right there. So I haven't heard anything else on that. Okay. We have an executive session later after, at the end of this meeting on a personnel issue. I met with, Braden Wilson, our Director of Finance, and also our Human Resources Director, and discussed that with him, and when we get to the executive session on the personnel issue, I would like to discuss briefly with the commissioners and with Braden the format and everything, and then we'll get into the meeting itself. And then following that is another executive session for me to give legal advice, and this will be an update on the lawsuit that's been filed by the Wet Mountain Tribune against the Board of County Commissioners and 2 commissioners individually. I have some information from the attorney who's handling that. I got an email from him Monday evening, and I have copies that I'll give to the 3 of you, and we'll go through it. I'll try to answer questions where things stand in his recommendation.
Glenn, how do you go from one executive session to the other? Do you stay in, or do you have to come out and then go back in?
We'll recess the personnel executive session, or I guess we can just close it out, we don't need to recess it, and go into the next executive session.
Back to back without coming out and going again?
I think that would be the most efficient way, and then come back into the open meeting for any action that the commission needs to take. I think in the first executive session, there will need to be some formal action. The second one is strictly informational. There won't be any formal action taken in that one.
Okay.
Clint, now, if I may, did I understand you to say that the second executive session will be dealing with this lawsuit?
Yes, I have some information from the attorney, Mr. Fletch, who's representing the defendant in that case. He sent me an email, and he asked me to share it with you, and I told him I'd do it at an executive session today. I have copies of that for each of you. Okay, one other thing, and I'm not sure if you know this or not, but the recall committee has filed a lawsuit against Kelly in her capacity as the county clerk and recorder, challenging her determination that there were not sufficient signatures on the recall petition to go forward with the recall election. And so I met with Kelly and discussed that with her, and I want to make this clear up front. In this case, Kelly is my client, as the elected official is named in this lawsuit. Braden did refer it to CTSI to see if they would provide coverage. CTSI is the insurance carrier for the county. they said they would not because there's no claim for monetary damages. Claim basically is to determine that Kelly didn't do her job properly and didn't do the count properly. The lawsuit was filed by Ann Barthrop, one of the members of the recall committee. There are 3 individuals who make up those members, and Ann Barthrop is the one that filed the lawsuit. I reviewed it. I spent quite a bit of time going through all the election laws, and specifically the election laws related to recalls, and I discussed it with Kelly and given her my opinion. It's something that I could handle as county attorney, but I would prefer that the county, well, let me back up, because Kelly also contacted the Secretary of State's office to see if they would provide representation. Secretary of State contracts with an attorney. Kelly talked to him, and he has referred her to another attorney who's a private attorney in the Denver area who's a specialist in election law. I haven't communicated with that person yet. My recommendation to Kelly and to the Board of County Commissioners is that you authorize her to go ahead and hire this attorney to defend her in this lawsuit. Like I said, I don't want to discuss any of the details. I've looked through it. I see a number of problems with the lawsuit, and I don't even want to give my personal opinion on it, but I would like to share all of this with this attorney. I think his name was, Chris Murray or something like that? Yeah. Okay. And I actually had started an email to him last night. I didn't finish it yet because I wanted to see whether you would authorize Kelly to go ahead and talk to this individual.
So what does authorizing mean to you? Does that mean the county pays for the attorney's fees?
Yeah, it would be, Kelly would have to submit that. I don't know what her budget is, and I have no idea what this might be. This is the kind of case where there could be a request for attorney's fees by the prevailing party. There's no request for attorneys. There is no attorney for a state party handling this. But again, that would be up to the attorney if she hires Mr. Murray or if there's somebody else that he might recommend. I don't have a conflict as such, but I've worked closely with Ann Barthrop on the Justice Committee, especially when we acquired the land several years ago for the Justice Center, if we ever are able to get funding for the Justice Center. And it would be a little bit uncomfortable because there are some, well, I wouldn't be attacking her personally or anything else. I'd be challenging some of the allegations that are made, but I feel more comfortable she has, if Kelly has separate representation, if that's your decision. I mean, if you authorize her to go ahead and retain this attorney, and we'll try to get some idea. Obviously, you're going to want to retain her. I don't think you're going to say, I'll take this and worry about my money later. It's a mistake I made during my legal career. But,
so we don't know it's sort of how much that could be.
I have no idea. I mean, his retainer could be $10,000, $15,000, and I'll start working at it, for $500 an hour. I have no idea. Denver attorneys are, their fees are out of sight these days. But just because of all the politics that are involved in this, I feel more comfortable not being involved in this part of it. And I'm like, as I said, I'm confident I could, as Kelly would be my client, and my duty is solely to give her the best representation. I can do that, but I also can't really come back and report to you, because of attorney-client privilege. I can't tell you what's going on in that. I'd rather just stay out of it if we could do it that way. I think the lawsuit could be dealt with fairly expeditiously, in my opinion, but That's about as much as
I personally would be very uncomfortable unless we knew what he was charging to authorize going ahead and getting a retainer fee that, on something we don't know. Can you represent?
I will reach out to him. I wanted to at least give you a heads up. The lawsuit was filed on October sixth. I'm not, what day were you served with, Kelly? The sixth was a Thursday.
So I was gonna ask, can you represent her until a decision's made? Because it would be very difficult without knowing.
Well, it's October 12th. Okay, she was served on October 12th. There's 21 days from then for her to file any kind of an answer, so we have plenty of time. So what I'd like to do is, I mean, I could, but there's not any reason to rush in and file anything right now. I'd rather just, get a hold of this. I'm sure we can have an answer back within, this week. And, have a special, meeting on it, or we put it on the October 31 agenda. We still would have time, even wait until then. But, let me talk to the attorney up there and give him a very basic summary of what's gone on here and this lawsuit that's been filed. And, I mean, personally, I think Kelly has handled this with, she's a consummate professional in what she does, and she's been very neutral and objective throughout this process. And I've reviewed some of her, communications with the recall committee. It's been very complicated, and it was even more so because of the protest hearing that got involved. The time frames were very difficult to follow and everything, but the bottom line is she went through all the signatures on the petitioners and she's very confident about her count on which signatures were allowed and which ones were rejected. So, and it came up too short there, so at this point, the recall petition is been denied as for insufficient signatures. The challenge is all about whether she counted the signatures. I think, that's the problem. I don't want to get into it more than that. The lawsuit is kind of hard to understand exactly what they are claiming. I say they, I'm talking about the recall committee being represented by Ann Barker. So that it's difficult to really go beyond that, but I'll get some more information and I'll let you know what we're looking at in terms of legal fees for this attorney. And that's the only thing. I'm finished there with all my attorney items.
So, a question for Kelly and for you, Clint, if I may. Kelly, the Colorado Clerks Association wouldn't provide legal representation for their members, do you know?
That's a good question. Reach out to them this afternoon.
Probably.
Okay,
And
yeah,
obviously, I don't want to spend thousands of dollars.
Right.
Because I just don't want to do that, right?
Yeah, so that's a great segue into my second question directed towards our attorney. And I sincerely mean this with all respect, Clint, and to Kelly. I think this is a frivolous attempt at trying to drag out this whole thing. It's going to end up probably costing this county money that we just don't really have any business spending on that. So as a county commissioner who I think part of my and our job is to try to be fiscally responsible, would you serve as her attorney if we asked you to do that, Clint, instead of spending God knows how much money on an attorney somewhere else? With respect to Kelly, I'm not saying we're not going to spend any money on Kelly's deal. I support it 100%. If you truly don't feel qualified, I'm not interested in whether you're comfortable or not, to be honest with you. We pay you to do our attorney stuff, and I mean this respectfully, Clint, I'm just trying to put it on the table.
I'm comfortable handling this. I mean, I have the legal skills and the knowledge. I can defend against this.
Right.
I just would feel more
Right.
comfortable. That certainly is a comfort thing. Qualifications, I'm qualified to do it.
Right. Yeah, and I listened very carefully to what you said, and I'm not trying to undermine that, but, to Commissioner Candace's point, we dropped 30 grand on this thing. We're gonna be under the gun when people say, hey, the hell you paying an attorney for the county if you're not gonna use him?
Right.
If there was a true conflict of interest, then I could see that would be different. But, again, I don't wanna appear to be so miserly in my thinking that we're throwing Kelly to the wolves. I'm not interested in that either, so.
No, if I had concerns about whether I could do this for Kelly, I would certainly let you know. I can do it. My retainer is $25,000, by the way.
No problem. We can
And that's
take a
just for the
swing at
first
that.
10 minutes.
I'll take it.
Cookies or 25,000.
I get banana bread and everything else over here, my cup runneth over already.
You know,
I can do it if that's the decision. I'll find out what we're looking at in terms of possible cost on this, and then you'll realize what a bastard you got working for you.
You know, and Kelly, I mean this sincerely, if you said to the commissioners, hey, for whatever reasons, I would rather hire outside counsel, then I think we certainly take that under consideration. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus.
Yeah, and I realize that.
Okay.
And like I said, I don't wanna spend, I don't want the county to spend that,
Nor should we.
not,
Yeah. So what do you think? Do we need to,
I don't
we
need.
can't wait till the end of the month to follow up on this, because obviously the 21-day reply window will have almost expired. So if we need to have it.
I'm sure I can get an answer back from Mr. Murray, and also Kelly can check with the Clerks Association to see if there's any other relief.
You pay dues as a clerk into it, so there's probably maybe something. What's the process, Clint? Where is it? It's filed in district court? What?
Filed in district court in Custer County,
And then is there a date?
he was served, and that started the clock ticking on the 21 days. So, and again, without this, I don't want to disclose my strategy. You can file an answer to it, or there are other legal pleadings you could file, and it would be my intention to file other legal pleadings initially under my appearance. Filing anything stops the clock. I mean, that's within 21 days. We're good, but I would file some other legal pleadings before I would ever address the merits of the lawsuit itself.
So that would be what you should do then, probably, right? The clock is running out, you can stop it with get your act in, or somebody else's act.
I don't want to enter my appearance until we've decided if I'm going to be an attorney or record, or if there's going to be, I can always withdraw later on and have some other attorney here, it doesn't matter, but for right now, there's not any great rush. We can get some more answers here, and
Or we can't make a decision on anything until the end of the
We gotta have
month,
numbers.
so do we wanna
well,
talk about
We'd
it?
have a special meeting.
If I feel that there's a need for something, we could ask for a special meeting just on that issue.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Sheriff.
Good. Everything, you good? Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Jennifer?
Kevin, you have new cards. I've already given them to Tom and Bill, with the new email address. So Kelly and I were talking, and she had asked with the new Google platform if the items that are part of your packet, and I was going to ask anyway, but items that are part of your packet, can I post them to the public? And that may be a Clint question. prior to the meeting. So, because I've had a couple of requests, by phone and anyway, so just wondering if that is a possibility or if it's something that should not happen and I'm still learning.
Yeah, personally, I don't think we need to. It's just me.
Well, the modern digital world's changed a lot of things. We never have made them available until after the meeting on hard copy and copies. And I don't think we don't copy them and post them with the minutes.
I don't know.
So they're never available for anybody, anytime.
Okay.
Well, they are.
But they are if you ask.
Yeah.
They have to come out.
But then the copies, who keeps the copy then to make copies if somebody asks?
I don't know, I haven't.
Do you keep copies of all of them?
Of contracts and
Right.
grants.
Right, those kinds of things. Yeah, the resolutions and stuff. But like letters of thanks.
Yeah, those would be,
Yeah, and so,
would have been really nice to have you.
it was.
It was there.
I looked under the October file that says agenda October.
What I do is I put it in the main folder for commissioner agendas, and then once they're complete, I put them into the folder.
Okay.
It's right, so October folder, and then there are documents right below it.
On the website she goes to?
Okay. I might stay afterwards and have you show me.
Yeah. Because
I couldn't find them.
No,
They're there, but
Is that
she.
sky like that, that's the problem.
Well, and if it's not, I mean, I'm posting them, and so if there's a glitch, I'm doing what I've been told on how to put them in there.
Because the only thing that you see is.
That's it.
I initially went to the October agendas and it was not there, but then when I closed that back out, I did see it. It was a separate folder off to the left, I believe, on mine.
I just need to be instructed then.
Well, and I'll make sure and put it into I thought that I was putting it where people could see it most easily, because whenever I first started, I put it into the August folder and people were calling saying they weren't seeing it. So.
I'm sure it's me.
No, well, I want to make sure that everybody can have access, so I appreciate it very much. Anyway, it was just a thought, and then I don't know if I have people who request prior to the meeting any of the packet documents. Am I allowed to give them prior to a meeting? I don't know the protocol, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's public record.
Okay. I mean, I haven't turned anybody down, but I haven't also volunteered.
The only thing that I think, and I made the comment about the new digital age or whatever here, so, I don't think, personally, because you're already putting them out there, and on any of the public ones, the only thing I would say is we would need to make sure that anything we might have in our packets that might be, say, in regards to an executive session or something like that, we would need to make sure that those did not inadvertently
Absolutely.
get posted.
You think about it like that, that's a good point. When does a piece of paper become a public document? And if you look at what Congress does, you don't get to see the bill being made until they get it completed and go through however it's offered up for vote, and then you can see it, in theory. I don't know if you'd want some of the things, because some of them could be rejected. It could be, I don't know, it could be a wrong thing on a document that they thought we were gonna vote on, and it's, I don't know.
Well, just like today, we've got the request for the San Carlos, for their grant for the trails. Got supporting documentation for the in-home daycare issue, and, the MOU. so I don't see any reason
No
why those
reason
couldn't
why
be
they can't
posted.
be.
You could.
Yeah, well, it'll all be well and good until we end up posting a confidential
That's
memo
something that's
from our attorney
confidential
by
or-
mistake, and then
That would be the
I
thing.
just don't think it's necessary. It's our board pack, it's information for us to do our job.
Then the
It's not
public can hear us
information for the public.
debate it, and they can see it then and hear it. Then I think that's when it becomes public, personally. The agenda is important,
The
because
agenda-
then you gotta
the
know
agenda's
why you
always
wanna come and
posted.
listen.
So,
That's
that's, I think the
absolutely,
thing.
and that's a
we're-
requirement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the thing we're discussing is the supporting documentation that comes with that, so.
I agree with
So
Yep,
I think it should.
it was funny, Kelly and I just briefly talked about it, and I had received a phone call earlier that day, asking, hey, is there any way we can get, can you post the packet information where we can access it? And I said, well, it would be something that we'd have to ask the
I don't think,
commissioners, and I don't want to do anything without your approval.
I won't support it.
I won't.
Okay.
Take that as a no.
Very good. There were CTF funds to the Fair Board that were not dispersed, so that's on my to-do list. I think the reason that it wasn't dispersed was because they did not send a formal request requesting it to be dispersed. Just wanted to keep you in the loop. I have handed you all, the list of holidays. It's been kind of a conversation piece around the building. So I did for the rest of the year. It was my understanding that when the county building went to a 4-day work week, that the holiday schedule would then would follow the, road and bridge, because they've been on a 4-day work week. So, made the changes. Well, some of the departments are saying, hey, wait, because of the way the holidays fall this year, should we really be closed that long? And so, just wanted to bring it to your attention that this is some of the conversations that are going on in the building. I gave you a copy, and maybe something that you wanna address differently. Some of the suggestions that I've heard with some of the different departments is, because they still would like to have their holiday day, but having the county building closed, do you do instead of Thanksgiving, hey, instead of being closed Wednesday and Thursday, since we were going to be closed Thursday and Friday, why don't you make it an option? We still are open, but then they can choose their holiday, whether it's Wednesday or Monday. Just things that I'm hearing, letting you know that this has been kind of a hot topic.
Well, tell somebody gets it together and comes up with some options, then
Well,
that's exactly what it is, otherwise we follow the holiday.
Well, and those were the suggestions, were to stay open, and do each department have a choice. Are you gonna be closed on Wednesday, where then the county buildings are still open during so, those were the suggestions that people were giving.
And then, that being said, this is only gonna be an issue
This year,
until
the end of the year.
And there's only 2 days that it affects, in my estimation here.
But it will make it where, the week of Christmas, I think the county building is only gonna be open one day, and it's at the end of the fiscal year. And I'm not sure how that's going to play, with different departments. Also with Thanksgiving, that means it will only be open 2 days. So
we got time to deal with it. If they
Yeah.
want, they wanna come up, and who the they is, I don't know, you can
Well,
put it on the
it-
agenda as a, item to consider with some recommendations.
Okay, I just didn't want you to be
You can't do it,
blindsided,
yeah.
wanted to at least let you know that I've had several departments ask about that.
Okay.
The
Can
other,
I speak to that real quick?
uh-huh,
Thank you. So we have not amended the holiday schedule, which we probably do need to do, because the Friday typically, or on our schedule, we had approved, the day before Thanksgiving, Friday, November the 23rd, as a holiday.
That was
Kind of a
for the
moot point
4-day
now,
work, that's
right, to your point,
right.
Jennifer. So, I think we need to get this addressed fairly soon so people know.
Say that
That would be,
had approved the,
No, we have not. The calendar is how, right now, is how we approved it in
in
January.
January.
That's right.
So right now, we're still, 23rd of November is our holiday.
Well, and the reason that I changed the county calendar was because it was my understanding that when it was approved to go to a 4-day work week, any of the holidays that were associated, and I had copied Kevin and Braden trying to get some guidance, because it was going to mess with the days, like when you all were going to have your final meeting. And wanted to make sure that we had the BOCC meeting set up correctly, and can't do that if we don't know when you're gonna be open. So,
We did that, but we didn't get into the holidays, so
correct,
let's stop wasting time now, because we
Okay.
can't vote on it today.
perfect, just wanted to get guidance.
And then get a good picture, and let's do it.
Did you get guidance or not?
I need to put it on the agenda for the 31st with options on how to handle holidays through the end of the year. Is that correct?
Next week, practically.
And then, the only other thing is that, just to let you know, I'll be processing CTF for the fair, ARPA money for Wetmore Fire, and weed board, reimbursement, the cost share. I'll be processing that this month. And then in the budget process, I have started going through the county commissioner's line items and found some things that were miscoded. So I'm gonna come up next meeting and give you a proposed workaround to make sure that we catch those before the end of the year. That's within the county commissioners. So, that's it.
thank you. That brings us, run public comment, before we take a break here. So this does bring us to public comment, so if you have anything that is not on the agenda, please feel free to do so. I believe you two gentlemen are here to speak to us.
Well, are you gonna do that before the break or after? Right now?
Yeah, now it's fine. We'll let you guys talk, and then we'll take a quick break before we.
All right, David, and I'll, there's something else. My name's Dave Hayward, I live up the, Hards Gravel, I'm not too far from here. And my comment is in regards to easement, and how they're enforced. And basically, that's my question, how is an easement enforced? And what good are they if they're not enforced? Let me, give you a few copies of things, I'm gonna read this easement. The second page has a little diagram of the lots that are described here.
And is this somewhere near where you live, or?
Yes, the big 17 and 18 is where William lives. Really has the issue. I'm being blocked out by neighbors on both sides of me, and both decided that I don't have access to my property. So they're putting up barricades, signs, and obstacles, and it's really become heated. Last week, the sheriff's been responding to just over this. Last week, the sheriff told both of these people they cannot block me from getting in and out of my house.
So it's being enforced somehow.
Yesterday, the sheriff department told me, no longer able to help me, I need a court order. People,
Did you talk to planning and zoning and?
I've been down here.
You're the gentleman that emailed me,
Yeah.
I responded to you, right?
I didn't receive a
So you didn't get, okay.
Oh, you know what, maybe I'll look at my junk mail, I'm sorry, I didn't look all the way through all that.
Sounds like. Well, now, because of our system
Right.
getting swapped, he probably didn't get it to you.
Okay.
But I did get your inquiry and I did respond to it. And I mean, I guess I can address it if you will allow me to. I understand your problem. It's a problem that comes up a lot in the county, that people somehow think they just have the right to block your use. You know, when I was looking into this in detail, it looks like it's a deeded easement, but even if it's not, if that's the only access to your property. I mean, this is open and shut from a legal point of view, but the county does not enforce easement. And if you can't reason with these property owners, and apparently you've tried, then there really isn't any other recourse but to go to court and get a court order and ask for attorney's fees for having to do that.
Okay, so, all that said, we were in that process and we assumed that was our route, we're gonna go to court. What bothers me the most is what the sheriff told me yesterday, that he's no longer gonna be able to tell them to move their vehicles and obstacles from me getting in. In other words, not gonna help me unless I have a court order. I'm hoping that between all of us, how I can get that done today, until we get this resolved in court. Because I still have to be able to get into my house, my daughter and granddaughter are literally moving now because of this moving match. So what bothers me the most is the sheriff's not able to help me without a court order. Not something that I could come up with yesterday, and
When is that
I'm
true?
trapped.
Yeah. Well, a court order, I mean, if they're, yeah, you don't wanna get into a shooting match or trying to, how do they block it with vehicles?
The vehicles, on one side, and they dug a trench across it, and, the other side, there's a log, and they put stakes and signs right in the middle of the road. It affects neighborhood. I'm the one that's trapped in the middle right now. I bought the place, was always needed that I have access to my property, I never would have bought the place. So,
And even if it wasn't deeded, you have access to your property, you can't be landlocked.
but they own the easements, they've sold each other parts of this easement, they've decided what we're talking about.
I just think it's a private road, clearly defined here. It's called a perpetual easement. That's the
It
word.
doesn't matter what it's called on a deed, if you've been using it for over 20 years, it's an easement, it's there.
Yeah.
You know, regardless if it's deeded or not, it's called a prescriptive easement if you've been using it regularly for a lengthy period of time. But, to get back to, there isn't anything, they can't issue a court order, you go to court, get a temporary injunction ordering all these other, the ones that are blocking you, to not block you until the judge can get into the merits of the case.
Right.
And that, you know,
That's enforceable then.
well, yeah, as soon as you can get a temporary injunction, maybe within a day or two, but you're gonna have to get a lawyer. I mean, it's tricky enough that I don't see how you could file the paperwork yourself, because you're seeking a temporary injunction, a temporary order. There is immediate harm that's gonna be caused if you don't get that court order, that's the test.
Right.
The judge will give you that injunction against these people, they cannot block that road, and then down the road, away you get into the merits. Have you spoken to any private attorneys yet?
No, we've been trying to settle this, in a civil manner with the neighbors, I mean, they're our neighbors.
Yeah.
They're all new people that, my real concern is right now, I don't wanna be that guy in trespassing, and they're charging me. So, on one side, I was charged with, of private property and trespass. Not formally charged by the sheriff, but.
They were accused
They
of
filed
that.
two complaints against you.
Right.
Bottom line is, why should William be out money $500 an hour for attorneys, and we have to pay almost $300 to get a court date. And then it takes days.
Well, that's usually get the temporary injunction right away if you get an attorney to file for it.
Oh, boy.
That's, you know, that could be done in 24 hours. If you left here and went and found an attorney, and I can't begin to tell you what it's gonna cost, but you can ask for your attorney's fees down the road.
Yep.
All right.
But if this is a law, why can't it be enforced without getting a court order? It's clearly a law. You can get on the internet, you can say, overview of Colorado easement law, and it clearly says if there's an easement, and it tells you what rights the owner of the easement has, and it tells you what rights the property owner has, and he's not allowed to do anything on that property to obstruct the purpose of that easement.
You're preaching to the choir on it is the problem. I mean,
Well, yes,
everybody
so my
here is on
real
board with
question
it.
is, why isn't the law enforced? It is a law.
You just answered it. It is the law, and the law has the process, and in 24 hours, you can get them to stop. And then also the law says you're able to collect whatever the attorney fees are. So just do it.
I think part of the issue here is how you define enforced. County commissioners don't have the authority to enforce those. The sheriff's department has indicated that they don't have the authority to enforce those.
They changed their tune.
Right.
They first were kind of.
Sure, they're gonna try to.
Now that makes me more nervous than ever if the sheriff isn't gonna help me.
Right.
Well, the sheriff tries, but they see some of these cases where it's absolutely impossible to reason with the property owners, and they can't go beyond that.
Right.
That's when they tell you, this is civil, you're gonna have to take it to court and enforce it.
Yeah, and that was my point. I think if you're not dealing with reasonable people on all the sides, the enforcement comes from a judge passing down a ruling, and that will be enforced by law enforcement.
Forever. Tell it.
Well, as soon as you get that temporary injunction, the sheriff will be right out there making sure they get everything out of the way and
fill in that ditch.
do everything else.
It just happened that this meeting was happening the day after the sheriff just told me he can't help me anymore.
Right.
And again,
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of charge trespassing is, but,
Electric chair typically, but,
yeah.
but see, I think the sheriff's department,
I've already been there.
to Clint's point, probably got involved up to the point where they knew they had no more legal standing to do anything without a court order. So I have a question, on this court order, is it directed to that property owner? Because that property is getting ready to change hands.
Right,
And then, are we gonna have to go back to the court and get another order for the new property owners?
No, if you get an order against the current property owner regarding that property, it's gonna run with the property, even if you sell it to somebody else.
Right. Bet.
In perpetuity.
Right, like I said, right.
Yeah, frustrating,
Well,
believe me,
I
we
just wanted
understand.
to make sure we're all, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's your right. That's the law. You just
I got
follow.
friends.
Yeah.
And I did visit with the sheriff about this some yesterday as well, and, you know, both of us, all of us fully understand it's a civil matter.
Right.
And I did tell him, explain some of your situation, and told him they may be getting called back again because
Get a court
you
order.
do have to go into your property, so,
Right.
and he understands that.
Well, you know, the fact that there's, Agent French over my name sign doing, they're charging me with destruction of property, well, they're the ones that are doing all these really crazy things.
But to charge you, they're gonna have to pay somebody to go do that. They're not gonna do it. Once they get a court order to stop and.
Yeah, but it's mostly just a lot of big words and a lot of screaming
Sure.
going on. Thanks for your help.
Well, try to remain on the civil side.
I'm good about that.
That's why they call it a civil issue.
Right, that's all,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay, any other public comment?
Yeah, Kevin, this is Elliot. Can you hear me?
A lot more now.
I'll bet.
Elliot, I see you
Yeah.
have your hand raised.
Yeah, hi.
Hang
just
on one
with-
second here.
Where's
We
the
need to,
volume on here? It is.
we need to get you
I got it.
volumed up here a little.
Say something, Elliot.
Something, Bill.
Okay, there you go. Now we can hear
Okay.
you.
Hi, just a quick note with regard to the notion of posting board packet documents. I would just like to point out that the towns of Westcliff and Silver Cliff do this when they send out the agendas. I personally find it very helpful. So just tossing my nugget in there in support of Jennifer's question.
Thank you very much for that.
Didn't introduce yourself totally, Elliot Jackson.
I just said Elliot.
Yes, yes, Tom, I will introduce myself again. Elliot Jackson with the Wet Mountain Tribune and a
Sorry,
resident
I
of
had your
Custer
name in front of
County.
me on the, so. All right, any other public comment at this time? Okay, hearing none, I think we will take a short recess. And, let's be back here at, let's try to be back at, 10:20. Okay, welcome back. I will reconvene this, BOCC meeting. The time is now 10:23. Does anybody have any unfinished business?
No, sir.
None.
New business. First item up would be consideration of how the 2023 budget will be reviewed and approved. Bring you up, sir.
Good morning, sir, how are you?
What are y'all doing?
I
Saw you somewhere else.
The IT director put the microphone there, and he asked if people could either sit or stand there, whichever is most comfortable.
Well, that sounds good. So I just sent you all an email with kind of an outline of what my suggestion is for this process. Starting with what's already happened. So October 15th was state Colorado revised statute that we need, that the budget officers submit the preliminary budget to the BOCC, and that also a notice to the paper goes out, notice of budget hearing. So that happened on the 15th. Hopefully you all received that preliminary budget. I will continue to emphasize preliminary on that because there's still a lot of work to do there. So that's now in your hands as far as that goes, and a notice has gone to paper to make sure that folks are aware that the budget process is in place and that the final hearing for that will be December 6th.
Proposed budget didn't go to the newspaper,
No,
just a notice.
correct, yeah, and that's all that needs to be.
That's right.
In the paper, so, there's supposed to be a copy available in the clerk's office, I believe. It comes by, and so if we need to have a physical copy, happy to do that.
Yeah, I do need a hard copy.
Okay. So I will get Kelly a hard copy, that way if anybody has any questions about that. And I will update it as we continue to update that. So as far as what's to come, my suggestion is that, the next, thing that would involve everyone would be a workshop to discuss the operational, personnel, and capital improvement budget. And my thought as far as the time for that would be November 7th, if that's possible. There's a planning commission meeting that afternoon, but maybe that morning. I know that's what everybody enjoys, is going over a lot of numbers.
Nothing like going over numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, it works for me. Morning and in the afternoon.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that date works for me.
Let's see if it works for me.
Is that gonna be a workshop?
It would be a workshop, yeah.
Monday, so that's good.
Planning commission is at 1:30 or 1? What time are you thinking, Braden? You had mentioned 4 hours, 8?
Planning commission shouldn't matter to us because we're not in it.
We certainly
It's
don't.
with you. So
Right.
it's-
We don't have to take 4 hours.
Doesn't
And
matter.
my other suggestion would be that if it looks like we need to, then we could create other workshops after the fact. We will have a month to make sure that we're all comfortable with this
Well,
budget.
9 o'clock is fine with me. Those planning commission is irrelevant.
Well, not if you're planning on attending it.
Yeah, but we don't attend.
I do.
That's why.
Well, I don't wanna get off into the weeds in that, it's just, it's
If
not
something-
irrelevant,
They
that's
come
my
to us
point.
with recommendations, and we'll get it sooner or later. We're not there to guide
8 or
the
9,
process.
fine, whatever you think.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts?
I do
You
not.
have the furthest drive.
I got no dog in that fight.
Okay.
So I can make either one work.
Well, let's do 8:30 just for.
Boy, how long are you late? Do they reach the ground on both sides of that?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, 8:30?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a fair compromise.
So between now and then, I will be working with our departments to make sure that we're fine tuning that operational budget and then going over personnel budget. As some people, I know there's been a lot of questions as to what kind of cost of living increase we're looking at this year. And at this point, I don't have an answer for that. I would like that to be more strategic than it's been in the past. actually be able to project out what that will do if we take a certain route, as far as whatever that percentage is. So, would like to be able to tie that maybe to something. For example, a thought process right now is, our ad valorem, our general property tax, whatever that increase is for the year, that's what we have to play with, because we will for sure get that. So just thought processes like that, that if we do make an increase, we're not shooting ourselves in the foot following years because we've out payrolled what we're bringing in. So those are kind of that's my thought process right now. I will have that more tuned in and be able to explain that further when something comes up.
Yes, maybe look at consumer price index. We can all research it, but if you could do that and bring those numbers.
Yeah, right now it's 8.4%,
which is seriously ugly.
And I'm gonna check around a little bit. I do know that that Silver Cliff is on the road to proposing an 8% increase for their personnel. But maybe Cliff is doing it.
Where are they getting
like
the cash?
The school, that is not the case, but
They got the money to support that?
yes.
Oh, Silver Cliff.
Well, they got the
Anyway,
1% tax increase.
We'll let them figure out their
Yeah, that's
financial
right.
woes.
That's
We'll
right.
worry about ourselves.
There you go. Yeah.
So, yes, I will be looking and taking that into consideration.
And then that, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
That December 6th meeting would be after our, Tuesday meeting.
Yeah, and that's the suggestion. We actually have a couple more days to whatever's decided there, make those changes and then get them submitted. One of those things is also certifying the mill levy, which we done quite on time last year. So making sure that we have enough time for all of that.
You already scheduled that 6th meeting, right? 'Cause that's already on our calendar.
Right, yeah. So we would have to have a hearing that day.
Right.
For that.
If I may, Kelly, haven't we included the public hearing in our regular BOCC meeting?
For the,
Budget?
budget, yes.
Yeah, just add it as an agenda item and then adopt it.
That's what we did.
Yeah,
recall that.
and I think typically we did the mill, we did the levies at the same time.
That's what we did last time.
There was always three things, but.
Yeah.
That's last year.
Yeah.
JD's,
That's what I was gonna say, the mill levy and whatever else it is,
There's a certification that goes to JD, and then there's a certification of the mill levies that goes to state, and that might be the breakdown of those two. Then, as I said, anything that, if we need to have additional workshops, I want to make sure that we're all comfortable with the budget. I think there's a good chance we could open and close it and be done November 7th. But just in case, about a month to we want it. Questions, thoughts, concerns?
Got anything?
I'm not hearing any.
All right. We'll let you move on.
okay, thank you. Thanks for your help.
Sir.
Fold.
Okay, next item up on our agenda will be consideration of accepting LATCF ARPA dollars.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would move that we, accept the local assistance and tribal consistency fund dollars, and that entails us going into the Treasury portal and into indicating to them that we will accept those dollars, $836,000, split between 2022 and 2023.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to,
Except the ARPA
close
dollars.
that out. For
weird.
the LATCF ARPA dollars as stated.
Yeah, it really is that we're just
We discussed that, right?
accepting those dollars. That's really what it is.
Okay, any discussion on that, gentlemen?
If I'm-
You wanna repeat LAT?
Yeah, Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund.
And that money was already sent, right?
No,
Or it has to wait till we say we'll accept it?
nothing's gonna happen unless we agree that we wanna move forward with that, and then there's some things that have to happen. The deadline to commit to those dollars is January 31st, 2023. But the sooner we get the clock started, I think the easier it's gonna be on us. I
And then-
sent you, well,
You sent out, the notice, what was it?
I sent an email to both you guys and Clint
Yeah, I
this
got it
morning,
this morning.
about a proposal for that.
Is it, so what is the, just so the public can hear it, what generally is it for? Is it for anybody to use on anything? It's not, is it?
Treasury's guidelines was for local county governments to utilize these dollars just as though they were general fund
Yeah,
revenue.
that's it.
And if you live in the grant world, that is almost mind-blowing. There's only one string attached to that money, and you cannot use it for political leverage. Other than that, there is no restraints
Pretty
on how
amazing.
county governments can use that money, which is
Yeah.
pretty wild.
It's pretty crazy.
What was the amount again?
836,000.
Split in
Split
2 years.
23 and 24.
No, 22 and 23.
So we'll
Oh,
will we get some this year?
We'll get 418,000 4 days or 5 days after we open the portal.
Any constraint on when it has to be spent? By, at least?
No, the only constraint about that is whenever you decide to spend it, then the clock starts on when you have to file a report. And, yeah, I'd sent you guys that link, so a lot of that
Yeah,
answered
I
in that.
saw it there.
But,
That'll be interesting for the budget hearing, huh, Braden? Too bad, huh?
and I did talk to Braden about, depending on what happens today on this motion, that, we should include that 418,000 in 2023 and do a budget amendment for 2022, both the revenue and the expense.
Yeah, we have to do it if we're accepting it, I guess, for income.
And Jennifer, you did register that, right? I sent you that link. Apparently you went into that portal, or no?
I
It seemed like I got an email that,
thought you went into the portal.
no, I have not, but I may have responded to NACO. I'm looking here real quick because I did get an email that said, congratulations, you are now registered, or I don't remember the exact wording. And I thought, oh, well, then Jennifer must have,
Well, and if I did, I didn't, I don't remember.
okay.
I've had a lot of little projects.
Treasurer's portal? Have to go on?
Yeah, federal.
That has to be Virginia.
Yeah, it wasn't.
She can sign up,
Right.
you can do everything.
Yeah, and I talked to her about that too, so. And we didn't get too far in the weeds because I was waiting for the outcome of this vote, but yeah, we've been down that road, huh? So that's, unless there's other questions that I can answer, which I'm not sure I'd be able to, but, kind of the high altitude look at it.
Anything from you, sir?
No, you said it was 8:30, Tom?
Pardon me?
You didn't put in your note how many actual dollars it was.
Oh, I didn't?
No.
Eight hundred
You just said that ought to
and,
be divided.
836,000.
36, I guess.
Yeah. 418 in 2022 and 418 in 2023. There. Trying not to be a baby and whine about this whole email program.
All right. Any discussion from the floor? Any hands up online? So those in favor of, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Kevin?
Yes, I see you there, Elliot.
Hi, yes, sorry, just a quick question, I guess aimed at Tom, since he's been talking about it. So would this be money that would basically go as general operating funds into the county's general operating fund?
That's how Treasury's couched it, that local governments can use this money as it, treat this money just like it was general fund revenue, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
All right, anybody else? Seeing none, hearing none. Those in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay,
Can you give me just a second, sir?
I can.
Okay. Jennifer, this was the email I was talking about, that NACO has approved your account. You may now use it to register for conferences, apply for committees, update information and more, and part of this was tied to that whole.
I probably clicked that
Yeah.
button,
Okay.
but I did, that does sound familiar. I just don't remember, going into a portal and doing
No,
anything
probably
with
didn't,
ARPA.
probably just registered with NACO. So.
Okay, if you would forward that to me, I don't have internet right now, so
Okay.
then I can look at it
Because I'm connected.
later.
I'm never connected, and I am. Aye.
All righty then. Next thing up will be consideration of tasking the PC to rewrite the STR policies to include the initial and renewal process.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You had
How
asked
are
me to
you?
put a few bullet points together, and I apologize I didn't get them sent to you guys, but I can kind of talk to what my suggestions are in this process. I think the last board meeting, you guys had suggested putting this on. I think we probably need to start by scheduling a workshop with the planning commission so that we can work through this. I don't believe that it's I wouldn't want to be tasked with making all the decisions, and I think it needs to be a group effort with everybody involved. I think, number one, I think we had talked about allowing the approval of the STRs once, the requirements are all met for the application, and granting the STR for 1 year. I'd like to kind of consider or throw out to the planning commission in the workshop that we do a 6-month review with each one if we determine to go this direction. That way we can kind of gauge where it's going. So I also think there needs to be some kind of vetting process. Another thing I read, and part of that, I guess I would recommend that we start doing tours again. I didn't know that that was necessarily something that we had been doing in the past and had not in the last year or so been doing that. So in talking to one of the planning commission members, they agreed with my suggestion, or in our conversation, we both agreed that doing site tours would be very beneficial to all of us, so that we can determine exactly what we're approving, just as one more step in the
And
approval
you're
process.
specifically talking about short-term rentals.
Yes.
Yes.
So-
Site tours are, for a special use permit, they're part of the process, right? According to the
I
zoning
guess I thought
regulations.
Yes.
it was part of the,
For a special use permit on anything else.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick one then. So you're asking for a workshop, which sounds great, and you're asking it to be, for us to consider ideas to improve the short-term rental, application process or approval process.
correct.
And you've got Keith Hood, agreeing to do a workshop with the PC, or have you talked to him yet?
I have not talked to
Okay.
Keith specifically about this. I thought we were.
Well, I think it's a good idea that you
Yeah.
go and do that personally.
I agree. I think it's something that we need to do.
Well, I think in some of our conversations, there have been issues that have come up on this whole process, and we knew there would be when we set them in place, because you never hit it exactly right the first time. That we would need to look at tweaking or whatever. And I would say at this point, you're the next item up as well on the agenda. But anything that needs to, I think we need to address not only the short-term rentals in this workshop, but anything else that we need to do at that time as far as any changes made to the zoning resolution. I would like to see that be able to be done at one time so that we're not continually going back, because it's a process to do it each and every time. And that's why I've asked you as well to put together a list of different things, and if we have something that we think needs addressed, we can make notes of that, so that when we have this workshop, get the ball rolling, we all know what we're gonna be looking at and moving forward, so we don't have to do it now, and then 3 months down the road, we're changing something else,
I think that's a great idea.
I do.
So why,
That is gonna.
then, for this purposes of this meeting, then, do you think we should combine these two, or make it more general to say we should have a workshop to consider all kinds of changes that maybe you're gonna have to make a recommendation to the planning commission on what you're gonna ask in that workshop, or have as a subject? We could this would have to be up to us to discuss now, is do we wanna have a general motion to have the planning commission look at rewriting or modifications to the current resolutions in the regulations for or not? That sounds like a smart idea to me.
And I think it needs to be at least a couple weeks out. It's gonna be a task. There's not just one thing in our resolution that I think needs to be looked at. There's these two things that are on the agenda today, and I don't know if we start with that and have a workshop just to cover those two things, because they're gonna be at least the STR process is gonna be a big
To be
process.
broken into a couple
And
pieces.
maybe we schedule another one a few weeks out from there to cover miscellaneous items that we feel may need to be covered or.
Well, then, in order to have a discussion, then I would move that we ask the planning commission to rewrite the policies for, STRs and the home business, for daycare parameters, whatever that is.
Could that be after we have a workshop with them?
Would your motion be to task them to rewrite that, or to go ahead and just, have a workshop with them?
Just a workshop, I would have.
A workshop and then rewrite?
Yeah, it's a workshop, and then based on that workshop, to rewrite it for both of them.
I would second that motion, yes, sir.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor, to set up a workshop with the planning commission, in regards to SDR policies and as well as other items that need to be addressed in the zoning resolution. Is that accurate?
And rewrite. After, yeah.
So, 1 second, Mary. Okay, discussion here at the table.
Yes, well, I was gonna ask Mary for her input, but that looks like that's gonna happen, so,
You're Mary.
yeah, we start looking at this daycare thing, that is also gonna be, I think, a fairly complex conversation, because whatever we do to that, most likely it's gonna affect a bunch of other, home occupation stuff.
Yeah, right,
I don't
it's
know.
home businesses in general, isn't it?
Unless we sort out and separate out daycare, which I think was the intent, right?
I think based on the documentation that Stacy provided,
Right.
we need to definitely
Focus on
look
that
at
first.
addressing the child care
Right.
on its own.
Yeah. My other comment, at least initially here, was that, that we schedule a BOCC workshop and invite the planning commission. If it's a planning commission workshop, I
Right.
gotta have 30-day
That's
notice
right.
and all that stuff, so I don't think we wanna jump through all those.
No, that's the way to
We
handle
can
it.
call a workshop 24-hour notice, and I think that's the most appropriate way to handle that.
So the motion was accurate, it just said with the PC.
Yes, so, BOCC workshop, inviting the planning commission to attend.
Dates.
That's, or we could leave that open and let her propose a date based on what she gets
Yeah.
attendance from the
Let Jennifer work
PC.
that out
Yeah.
between us and the PC.
Right.
Mary?
I'll just,
So I did listen to the BOCC recording about talking subject specifically of automatically approving STRs, and I went into the office and pulled all of the records, every STR that's been approved, and I've got some comments on that. First and foremost, as everybody knows, many of the members of the planning have oodles and oodles of experience with this, but we really don't. And they have more input at specific locations and lots and subdivisions that we don't have. To listen to them at the time of an approval. The other thing is, adjacent neighbors need to say whether they are for or against without having to send a letter. Specifically adjacent neighbors. And they also need to be able to recommend conditions. Because they live next to these people, they see day to day. It's great to go into a site visit, but you know they're gonna prepare for a site visit. They don't necessarily see what is normally done or what they've hidden for a site tour. Also, obviously, it's a public meeting, and public comment can persuade adjacent landowners one way or the other, and I think that's important because they need to hear their neighbors' input. And then any conditions that we have applied in the past, any conditions, would need to be applied to everybody moving forward. And you're talking fire pits, grills, dogs, guns, property marking, all of those things, because you can't do it for one and not the other if you're automatically approving. And the other thing is, you can't have a 6-month meeting or a 1-year meeting for review if you've got them all being renewed at the same time. So you would have to go back to the date that they were approved and do it from that time. So if it, those are just some, workshop is a great idea.
That's a good thing to bring
Those are just some
up.
things to think about going into the workshop.
Great,
And that's things that'll come out too,
good idea.
that we can flesh out during that, because that's the whole reason to get us all together, so.
And I wasn't aware of a workshop before this meeting.
We weren't either.
Okay.
Now we are.
But those are just some things to keep in mind and maybe do a little more research on before the workshop is possible.
That's why you need to work that, so you have plenty of time to do it. There's no sense going into a workshop and everybody saying, well, I don't know, maybe I'll go look at it.
Right,
Give us time, it's not that big a rush.
and so perhaps giving planning commission a list of things to think about beforehand would really help. And I have notes. I think one thing we need to, and I haven't brought up, I think we need to consider.
Oh, and I'm Mary Mallory, by the way.
And while Mary is talking, Dorothy, just a second, then make sure that she brought up a good point. She's got ideas. She does, that's her ideas. Get the planning commission, they bring each individual on it, work and get something to keep, to focus on, you all, from your point of view, and then we get to mash them together and discuss a lot of things.
I think if we all give our ideas to everybody,
That's what I mean, but,
I totally agree with you. I think that would really help.
yeah.
And, you know, we've been focusing pretty heavily on STRs because that's the latest
Soup of the day.
we've dealt with. But there are things that maybe have been around for 30, 40 years that we might need to address a little bit. Home occupation with those daycares is one of them. So, you know, and that is something that you guys see as well, because you're intimately aware of what's in the resolution. And so that speaks to that, to where we can address some of these issues, whether it's a little tweak or a major overhaul of something that needs to be done, and everything that everyone sees, we can address at that workshop.
I agree. I think that.
Yeah.
Mary, I'd like to ask you a question, if I may. One of them, and I voiced it at that meeting that you listened to the recording to, and that's this whole idea of trying to quantify how much credence we being either the planning commission or the board of county commissioners, more specifically us, on neighbors.
My opinion is that neighbors in general can speak to whatever they want to speak to, but we need to modify the regulations to specify adjacent neighbors should be listening to, not neighbors.
Yeah, see, legally, I think we get into an issue there, because that is a public meeting.
Yeah, no,
Anybody can stand up and speak. But
absolutely.
to say we're gonna listen to everybody, but we're going to listen to the adjacent landowners with regard of whether or not we're gonna pass this or something, you know what I'm saying?
So that's a legal thing?
Tell somebody they couldn't speak in a planning commission meeting, we'd all be in the hot water, so.
Well, then maybe we need Clint at the workshop.
Oh, I would think he'd probably attend, but,
Awesome, because we had a mob,
yeah.
and in thinking about it afterward, I'm not sure we should have voted as we did, but if that mob wasn't there speaking, and we had approved that, or we had recommended to approve that SDR, would they have then alienated their whole neighborhood and made a lot of hate that they would never have known about?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yes, there's good, but there's also bad.
Right.
And Mary, here's another point to consider too when you go back thinking. What I saw, and you saw it too, we can't be guilty of accusing somebody of being guilty before proven innocent. And so, reviewing this is where I was all along. You need to base it on fact, not hearsay or supposition. So that's why it's important. I don't care how great, maybe everybody voted, it was the most wonderful thing ever, and everybody voted to do it. But in 6 months or a year later, the facts showed that it shouldn't have been, or the other way around.
Sure.
And the facts would support leaving it alone for now. So that's why you have to consider whether it's 6 months, a year, whether 2 years, or whatever it is. Don't throw any ideas out until you discuss it. That's how you come up on the best consensus resolution. That's why a workshop's great to hear all sides.
I agree, and if you look at my past voting and comments, I've actually said, all of that is in the past and has nothing to do with
Right.
this current
That's
short-term
exactly right.
rental.
Right.
But it brought to
And
the
I
forefront.
was totally involved with the overwhelming gang thing, and I should not have voted as I did.
Yeah, and that was my question, I guess, was your opinion about that whole part of the process. So, concern of mine. And I know Commissioner Candace also said, just won't buy into the mob rule thing. And
It's hard not to,
yeah,
when you're in the middle of it.
Because the mob could be a new owner with 20 kids. You know, when are you gonna draw the line?
I think that we need to consider too, that an HOA or POA needs to make those stipulations, if that's something they feel that strongly about.
Or they could form an
Not
HOA,
allow
I think.
SPRs in their subdivision.
That's up to them.
Yeah.
Some of that burden falls on them.
yeah, and we've avoided that because we believe that is their responsibility.
That's right.
Not ours.
Yep.
So,
Although that does enter the conversation at those meetings, I believe, to some degree.
It does. It's part of the conversation at the meetings, but, again, that is influencing perhaps the adjacent neighbor, which is fine, but we need to not take it into
right.
consideration.
It's not on the application, is it, whether they're in an HOA or not?
No, it's just, you
Right.
better check it out.
Yeah.
That's all it says.
It just, yeah, it reminds them,
And that's
and we
okay.
tell them that too.
Good, thanks for the input.
Thank you.
So
we're still.
We gotta vote.
No, yeah.
We gotta vote. Don't leave until, we may turn you down.
Sorry, I jumped the gun there.
So you wouldn't shake our hands if we told you.
all right, let me check online. I have no hands raised online. Any further discussion? Okay.
No, just assuming Jennifer's gonna work on a date and a time for us.
Yes, I have it on my to-do.
I'm sorry.
I have it on my
Okay.
to-do to follow
Thank
up
you.
with her and
Thank you.
when we'll work best.
Jennifer,
I meant
Jennifer and
Dorothy.
Dorothy.
I know what you meant.
To get
We'll work
that.
together. Yes, that's,
Yeah.
All right. Those in favor then of holding a BOCC workshop and inviting the PC to address issues with the zoning resolution?
Is there an assumption, sir, that it would be before the end of the year? Because I think the daycare thing,
Yes, we need to act on that.
okay.
It's your schedule, you're gonna suggest it to us based on whatever the push is.
Okay.
That could be an assumption that doesn't necessarily have to be a fact, but it would be a good assumption.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 If we get it before the end of the year, aye.
Okay, there you go. So our next item would have been, the home business for home daycare. I believe we have addressed that issue with the previous one. If it would be okay with you gentlemen, we'll skip over that then.
We did.
Okay. Next item up would be the consideration of support of the San Carlos Ranger Division OHV Trails Grant for 2024. And you have a letter in your packet.
Well, I move we support the request, that we, how do we wanna word this here?
Write a letter of support.
Write a letter of support. OHV Trails Grant 2024.
I would second that motion. Discussion?
Yeah, I think it's good effort on our part to show that support.
Okay. Discussion from the floor on that.
The chair penned said letter on our behalf.
The chair may delegate some of that out and make sure he signs said letter.
What chairs do.
Haven't you done a similar letter like
Yes, we
this?
did.
So you can pretty much just
Yeah.
follow the previous.
Look up the whole Lutheran camp.
the last letter I wrote was changed dramatically when it was proofread, so I think I would just skip that.
I have it on my to-do list.
She does not like the way I put my letters together. So, part of that discussion will be, I will sign said letter. Okay, those in favor of sending a letter of support,
Written by.
to the San Carlos Ranger Division for the OHV Trails Grant 2024, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You're no fun, aye.
Aye. Thank you. And thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
Oh, my God.
Okay, the next item up on our agenda then will be the discussion of the status of the Oem Documents. You brought that?
Good morning, how are you?
Good.
Will you email it to me, and I'll make sure she gets it?
So what I've handed out is, Chris Bryson, everybody kind of knows me, but just for the introduction. There's a few documents that I want to just bring to everyone's attention, and I think the county, as much as you guys, need to be aware of these things. The first thing I have here is this Fema document. And basically what this is, it is approving the hazard mitigation plan for Custer County, the town of Silver Cliff, and the town of West Cliff. The approved jurisdictions are eligible for FEMA hazard mitigation assistance and grant programs. It was approved on the 9th of February, 2022. Right in this approval letter, it says you have to resubmit within 5 years to continue to be eligible for mitigation grant funding. That's what the FEMA requirement is.
Which one you own, this 20?
The Deer Custer County Commission was the very first FEMA document. I thought I highlighted those.
Your right hand.
Oh, there it is, I got it.
Point being, this is the document that FEMA provides after the hazard mitigation plan is approved. States right in here when you're supposed to resubmit. On page 23, the next thing you'll see is the executive summary, which is the actual executive summary for the approved hazard mitigation plan from 2017. Disaster Mitigation Act is a federal legislation that requires proactive pre-disaster planning as a prerequisite for funding available under the Robert T. Stafford Act. The next thing down is the point is it applies to the town of Silver Cliff, the town of West Cliff, and Custer County. The planned update is the issue here. Federal regulations require the monitoring, the evaluation, the updating of hazard mitigation plans. A jurisdiction covered by a plan that has expired is no longer in compliance with the Disaster Mitigation Act. We are out of compliance right now. And I live in the county, and I'm in a high-risk area where I'm at, and it's not even addressed anymore. The next page, and I'll make a point from this in just a second. The next thing here is the RFP for the updated plan from the Office of Emergency Management. The update of the current plan is necessary to meet the requirements of the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. The expected time frame for revision includes the submittal of the Colorado Division of Homeland Security Emergency Management by October 26, 2021, which is just about a year ago. So it's fully expired since February of, as of this year, it's fully expired. I was aware of this 2 years ago. I know the board's aware of it. I know Adrian is aware of it. And I'm going to tell you guys the reason I'm even in here. So on the 5th, you guys questioned the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, which is also part of OEM. And Mr. Washington said something that struck me as dishonest, so this is why I'm here today. You asked him about community protection plans, and Bill, you specifically asked him, is it good enough to still get grant money? Right. And he told you that it was good out to 2028, I believe is what he said. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. So he says that the Sangre Foothills Wildfire Protection Plan is good till 28, and grants could still be issued based on that document. However, communitywildfire.org, that's a state-supported website, states as of April 22 this year, that every individual wildfire protection plan in the state of Colorado should be updated every 5 years, not every 10 years.
Where are you reading that? I gotta get on the same sheet.
I'm sorry, I'm on the question. This is just a question that I had for you. This is not
Oh,
something that I
nothing that
provided
we
in
had
the
on it.
document for
Okay.
you, right? I just wanted to establish that the document was expired, it's
So
expired.
did you ask him why he said that then? Have you talked to him?
I have not talked to Adrian. I try to get ahold of him, he doesn't reply to me, doesn't reply to emails, and I normally, so.
It would be
I
nice
haven't
to know, because it's hard to, nice to hear this side, and we'll
Sure.
have to.
Sure,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
this is me as a citizen talking to you guys, because these things are on the emergency management website as citizen documents.
Okay.
We're supposed to be able to go to this website, find these documents current and accurate. So when he stated that, I found it to be dishonest, and it sort of rubbed me the wrong way because I found it dishonest. It's not good. That community wildfire protection plan is expired. They all are. And so the main thing is this. The hazard mitigation plan is well expired, and it's not a simple process to get that updated. So it is very likely that even if we've got this plan in progress, Adrian sent this FEMA, this request for proposal to get that updated, and it was obviously not done. There was more than enough time. That's a year ago. There's more than enough time to get that document updated. And my question starts to become, what else is not updated? So that's where my question list comes from. And again, this is not something you guys have. This is straight from Adrian's website.
So, can I stop you there for a
Sure.
second before you move on? So, you're saying that you don't believe he's working on updating the hazard mitigation plan?
No, I believe he is updating the hazard mitigation. Well, he's not, but I believe he has hired somebody to
Right.
do that.
Right.
But it was a year when they put the RFP out. He had a year to get it updated. Okay. It didn't get updated, and now it's 8 months past the year. So now the thing is expired for 8 months. And it's not only Custer County, it's also the towns of Silver Cliff and the town of West Cliff. That hazard mitigation
So
plan.
he's working on it. When do you think it'll be ready?
I have no idea. I can't talk to him. He hasn't talked to me. I don't know.
But how do you know he's doing it?
Well, he said that he was doing it on the 5th when we
All right, so you
talked
just,
about it.
okay.
I'm going back to that. He said that, they're working on it, it's coming. Okay, I get that. So it started me looking at the rest of the document. So the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, which drives most grants, not all grants, but most grants, is expired from 2007. It has to be at least 10 years old before we can get grant money through these FEMA programs. It's right in the Stafford Act, the Disaster Mitigation Act. So that's one of the other plans, and was the board even aware that that thing is that old? You know, that's the real question I have for all three of you. Are you aware that that document was 15 years old? And that's the driver for these grants, that's the mission of OEM.
So when I did ask Adrian about that.
Right.
And he said it had been updated in a previous year, and that's what he's working on now, is that new one, so.
Well, you're speaking about the hazard mitigation.
No, I'm talking about what you just said.
The Community Wildfire Protection Plan is
Because
also
he's got
another
that,
component.
he's got that listed too. Anyway, that's what he told me.
Right, and there's nothing on the website, there's nothing at all. This is an expired document, 15 years. So, that's what was told to the board. The next document is the Custer County Warning Notification Plan. It's on the website as a citizen document to go to. That thing is expired since 2017. And we don't have a dispatch anymore, so that document is different than it used to be. The next thing, the EMS assessment. Our emergency services assessment is out since 2015 as well. And again, that's a document that's on the website, so citizens can go there and get an updated plan. The next thing, the emergency operations plan, which is Custer County, West Cliff, and Silver Cliff, is also expired since 2017. With no dispatch center anymore, these documents are not relevant anymore. The whole system is different. So my point being this is, Mr. Washington has been as the OEM for 1.5 years, 2 years now, I forget exactly how long. And every single one of these documents was exactly like this the day that he got there. Nothing has been done. Not one of these documents is different. The requirements are not different. The website is exactly the same as it was 2 years ago. Exactly the same. Emergency management, safety, and these kinds of things this is my entire lane for my whole career. Without an operations plan, no operation will go smoothly. We cannot be a county that's going to allow every single document, not one or two, but every single FEMA document from our emergency management office to just expire for years and years and years with no press to get these things done. To me, that is unsatisfactory behavior from the OEM, the current OEM. I just don't see any reason that can be.
And with his request for proposal for the mitigation plan, he was well aware a year and a half ago that this needed to be done, and it didn't get done. I don't really care why, but it's been a year, well over a year. He knew about this. The question is, what is going to be done to get these things current? The county should have these documents. They're on the website. They're required documents. They're required by the Fed. When are we going to get these documents? What's the status? Where's Adrian? Why is he not here? He's never anywhere. I can never find him. Nobody can find Adrian, what he's doing. What's he been doing for 2 years if he hasn't been doing the basic job of updating plans, coordinating training? What is he doing? And he reports directly to the board, so no one else would know but you.
Well, I'm looking at the 2021 Custer County operating plan. I do not have the signed copies here. This was the final draft. So I can't speak to who signed this document. Obviously Byerly, Loviondo, Diana Trujillo, Rick Maestas. So, based on what I know, I would say that we do have a current annual operating plan for Custer County. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know why I'd have this in my file if it wasn't accurate. Okay, I don't know. We'd have to ask him about that. The emergency operations plan, updated July 15th, 2019. I'm looking at it, so
I get
I
you,
don't know.
and I talked to Vernon about it, because my first question was, maybe the website's just not updated.
Okay.
So I talked to Vernon about all these, see if there's IT documents hidden.
Okay,
There is no approved document, other than the ones online. None of them have been signed, none of them have been going through the process, where all the stakeholders have signed them and said, yep, we approve this document, let's move along.
Well, I think your concerns merit, looking into. I'm not gonna just poo-poo you and blow you off. I think you have some, valid concerns. Whether they're accurate or not, we'll find out. I'm also looking at 2020 annual operating plan for Custer County, so.
With the hazard mitigation plan is expired a year. Community wildfire protection plan, which drives most grants, which is why Wet Mountain Fire couldn't get their grant this year, because that is expired over 10 years. They can't even apply, you know? I'm concerned because, and I'll be forthcoming with you guys, you know why I'm sitting in here. When this job came up for the county, I was one of the two considered for the position. And FEMA was here in the interview, and my understanding always was, they said, either one of those two gentlemen can do the job, or make your choice. You made your choice. No issue there. I got no problem with that, other than he's not doing the job. Not doing the job. And so, again,
discussion, so be quiet for a second. I took your letter. You actually wrote us a letter saying the same things you did. We all received that, and we all three of us looked at it. I at that point sat down. I redacted who it was from. I just cut to the issues. I called up, talked to a lot of people in the emergency area, including the fire, et cetera. And I said, "Is this true? Is this true?" And from what people could find, because as you see, our website's always been a problem, and you can't find things. So some people can. You saw where Tom found some things that you didn't have your own. Okay. So I sat down with Adrian because people have been accusing him of these things, and the fact is we did select him because he was qualified, and he showed me, to my satisfaction, that he is things are updated. He's talked to the state on things that have expired, and they said don't worry about it right now because he's working on it, and the grants are still valid. They asked him to keep applying, and that's what he's doing. So I sat down with him and went through each one. And then I asked him to make sure that in the meetings he points that out, and some of these he brought up. So to me, like Tom said, it warrants not poo-pooing it. Let him prove it. But you're giving him a blind. You're charging him with this, and you haven't talked to him. Now you can go
get a hold of him, you know where he works, you can walk in there, and he knows where you work. That would be my suggestion. This is a discussion now, because it does matter, and it does matter that the county does have viable plans. And he has actually showed us, or me anyway, I think he brought in, his plans to the board the other day, some of the maps that he had on the fire mitigation stuff that he worked.
Now,
No, he had already started it, Chris. I mean, you know, don't be careful, because you're sitting in your office, and that's not that far to go to Adrian's, and if you really do care about the county and not Chris Bryson only, because you didn't get the job, then you would want, it's not hard to walk over there and find out if it's really, you know, where's truth, and help make sure he's doing a good job. If he's missing it, point it out to him. You know, it didn't need out of the clear blue sky a shot fired without understanding what has been done totally before you shoot. And being a team player, both of you should work together, to me.
I offered.
And,
I
well,
sent him emails and offered.
maybe so, and that's something we need to do. Anyway, to him, you sent that email to him?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my impression, and I don't have any problem if you, and I'll ask him to get together with you, if it takes that, and then come back with something for us to act on, you know, and certainly hire and fire people at our will, that's for sure. He works for us. So it's nice to have this brought up publicly, and we'll now put it back on, you know, you owe Adrian his due course of, being able to defend himself.
I've asked him, I sent him an email offering to help him with this well over a year ago, and, you know, he just doesn't reply. He's got his own, he's doing his thing, he's doing his job. I get that.
And he reports to us, I haven't, you can argue about whether they're good or bad reports, it's just like you can't.
I'm bringing it up, you know why I'm bringing it up. I've offered, something else, I'll go ahead and put it on the record now. You know, another reason I bring it up is because I feel like so here's the thing, and I might be way out of line saying this right now, but oh well, that's just me. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I think when you put Adrian in the spot, you violated the veteran preference policy for state of Colorado and here. Because all things being created equal, if a veteran qualifies, which FEMA said I was qualified, if the education things are the same, and they're not. Adrian has a master's degree, and so do I, so they are the same there. Adrian's master's degree is in theology. Mine's defense and strategy. I don't see those as equal when it comes to emergency management. He's not a veteran. And I'll be honest with you, I find that a little bit hard to swallow because I did serve my country. Adrian didn't. There's veteran preference policies for a reason. In an equal world, the veteran should have got the job. It rubs me the wrong way. I apologize for feeling like that.
You're assuming that
I'm telling you,
Chris.
I'm being as honest as I can with you.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Those were considered with me. I'm considering. Experience matters too. It does.
I agree with that.
You have no fire experience at all, and he has tons of it, and maybe he lives and breathes it a lot. There's no question about it. So balancing overall, we all weighed the facts, and that's how it was selected.
No problem.
And it's a fair process.
But I'm just giving you background. I want everybody to know, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like,
get it.
I
get
feel
it.
like, anyway, I've spoke my piece. This is the last time I'm gonna bring this up, because it doesn't seem to be making any difference anyway, and Adrian doesn't seem to want that help. And so I'm not gonna bring it up again. This was my last time to bring it up, speak it on the record. I think the veteran policy was violated. And I'm not gonna say anything more about it. It's up to you guys now. I don't think the job is being done as it should be. I just don't think it is. I'll do a better job than this. He might be a fire guy, but I'm an operations guy. I do operations like this my whole life, with explosions, with overseas. I've done this. It isn't an emergency management position. That is one aspect of it. Coordinating multiple agencies is not the same thing as totally understanding fire and fire threat. There's a bunch more to it. To be a good operations manager, and you know, Bill, it is a far bigger thing than one specific skill set.
That's exactly right, and that's exactly how the board considered.
Yeah, and this is where we are now, 2 years later, with this huge question mark, and every single document on the OEM website expired. Every one. And if they're current, why are they not up there? How hard is it? All he does is tell Vernon to put it up. If there's a current signed approved document, it should be online. I don't think there is.
or it'd be there. There may be some work progress, there may be some documents that we've considered and revised and all that, but I don't think they're approved. Nobody's signed them on, they're not posted. That's all I had to say, thanks.
We can find out about that.
Thank you for listening, and that's all I have.
Yeah, I'll just comment real quick about the veterans hiring practice, and you're exactly right. We read it, the law says if all, paraphrasing here, if all things are equal, preference should go to a veteran. Don't have a problem with that. Obviously, all things weren't equal.
That's right.
That's just the hardcore reality of it. Our job is to hire and fire, and we did that. If we had not taken into consideration that veteran hiring policy, I'd say you're exactly right. But you're off the mark, because we did consider that. It wasn't a situation where we have two identical candidates with the same qualifications and all things are equal. That was not the case. That's just the long and short of that, so, yeah.
And that's why I'm speaking my piece.
Yep.
Now you're living with their decision, and I'm
Did we
living
add
with
something to the end?
Good.
Yes,
Oh, we did.
yes,
What we had?
consideration of the,
Well, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Yep.
Thank you, Chris, and we will.
Appreciate you, Bill. You bet, you too. Keep up, Kevin.
Thanks for taking time to come down.
No problem, Tom. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, next item up on our, agenda would be consideration of
I've already.
support letter for tourism.
Okay, so tourism sent me an email that says, hello, I'm in the process of helping Custer County Tourism Board apply for a $60,000 CPO market match grant. The grant will pay for the creation of the Wet Mountain Valley past and present booklet, as well as accompanying plaques to be installed throughout the valley. As part of this process, I need several letters of support from community members, and I'm hoping that you would be willing to support one. To make this easy, I've crafted templates specifically for you. If you would like to review it, tweak it, include your letterhead and sign it, it would be wonderful. Feel free to work directly in Google Docs. Note the grant application is due October 20th. If you could get it back to me no later than Tuesday, October 18th, and then she followed up. This was sent on Friday, October 14th, so I noticed she followed up yesterday at 6 p.m. I noticed it this morning and wanted to make sure, because I did not realize that it wasn't sent to all of you, it was only sent to me. So, Lindsay Diamond. So, just wanted to let you know that they're asking for a letter of support. I do have it in the Google Docs, the letter that they have crafted, put onto letterhead, and it's on the to be signed, folder, if it is okay for you all.
How big's the grant? What is it?
60,000 CTO matching, market match grant.
Who is it? Colorado Department of Tourism.
Tourism, yes.
Not requiring any money from the county.
No, they just would like a letter of support.
We wrote a letter for them the last time they applied for a CTO grant.
Seems like
And,
you ought to have a copy.
yeah, I did. Well, I've already, their sample letter, I have put,
The copy
Tom,
like
or
Kevin?
Kevin has it on there, and I can show you where it is on yours, too.
Now, I'm looking at, you don't have it under the signed
To be signed.
and I don't see a to be signed file here, but.
Okay, so I'm gonna use his, so whenever you go into Google Drive, and go to Commissioner's Office, you're gonna see Documents to be signed
Yeah.
folder. And then you're going to see a folder with today's date. And then there are the two documents
There
that
it
are
is.
to be
There it is,
signed.
even on my computer.
Even on Bill's
Can't
computer.
believe it.
with letterhead and everything, and Kevin's
Kevin's already signed it.
Kevin's name on it to be signed.
I
If
would
this
move,
is,
we approve the letter
I'll second it.
for tourism.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to, sign
CTO marketing grant.
the letter for tourism on the CTO marketing grant application as presented. Discussion.
I like it.
I'm assuming you can just electronically sign that too.
You know, I could probably do it either way here.
yes,
I can-
if you can electronically sign it, great, and if not, then I will get it, I was trying to get it printed out before coming, but was running behind. As you could tell when I show up 3 minutes before the meeting.
No, it was five.
It was 5 minutes before the meeting, thank you.
All right. Any discussion from the floor? Nothing online. Those in favor of signing the letter of support, the CTO marketing grant tourism, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Any additional items of business?
I have none.
Then here,
Okay, public comment. Seeing nothing online, seeing nothing here in the room. So, that being said, I will recess, this BOCC meeting, and we will move into, go into executive session for, two different matters. One will be a personnel matter, and the other will be for legal advice.
Assuming we have a motion to do that, right?
Yes, I would entertain a motion to do that.
I'll move that we go into executive session for legal advice and in conjunction with whatever the other one is.
Personnel matter.
Personnel.
Okay. I will second that motion. Those in favor of going into executive session for a personnel matter and for legal advice, please signify by saying aye.
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 Assuming we're going upstairs.
We will go upstairs.
So who do we need?
Yeah, who are you inviting to